Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, whale games. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and be sure to check out the store for Into the Cryptoverse if you want to get an Into the Cryptoverse t-shirt. Let's go ahead and jump in. Now, I should say that as always, on-chain analysis is dubious at best. Therefore, it fits in perfectly with the content of this channel. You have to remember, though, that with on-chain data, it could be somewhat manipulated. Okay, a transaction doesn't necessarily mean buying or selling, but with that said, there still can be some interesting patterns to note in the charts. One of those things is to follow some of the larger accounts that are holding Bitcoin, some of the addresses that hold billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, to just see what they're doing. Okay, sometimes I might feel bad if Bitcoin's gone down a few percent, and then I look at some of these wallets and I see that they're down hundreds of millions of dollars, and I don't feel quite as bad. But a lot of them are actually playing the game somewhat well, and I want to talk about our friendly whale, whale number 3. We always must ask ourselves, well, what would whale number 3 do? If you go look at whale number 3, the reason why we talk about whale number 3 and not whale number 1 or 2 is because whale number 1 is just the Binance cold wallet, and whale number 2 is the Bitfinex cold wallet. So I don't really think there's that much interest, super useful information to get from understanding these exchange wallets. But whale number 3 is this mysterious whale. We don't know who they are, right? I mean, I don't. Maybe you do. Obviously, there's a lot of people that speculate on who it could be. But you have whale number 3 sitting on approximately 125,253 Bitcoin. It's a lot of Bitcoin, right? It's quite a bit of Bitcoin. If we go actually look at some of the most recent transfers and transactions on in their address, you can see that recently they've been accumulating again. Now, why is this interesting? One of the things that, is sort of a meme in the cryptoverse is buy high, sell low, right? Obviously, everyone would like to buy low, sell high, but us crypto investors are a fickle bunch, and a lot of us will sometimes not operate under the conditions that we should, and you'll buy when it's high, and then you'll panic sell when it's low. We've all been there. We've all done it once upon a time. And then the longer you're in crypto and Bitcoin, you sort of just tune it out, and you kind of become apathetic to what the market does. Like if Bitcoin were to go to 45K, I don't really care. If Bitcoin goes to 35K, I don't really care, right? I have a strategy that I'm going to carry out no matter what Bitcoin does. Whatever it wants to do, I don't really care. So what has whale number 3 been doing recently? Well, as of yesterday, they picked up another 1,000 Bitcoin. They picked up 500 Bitcoin on April 15th and another 500 on April 14th. And you can see they've been periodically adding to their stack here in the low 40s and upper 30 level. Now, the reason this is interesting is because it wasn't that long ago when they were taking some off the table, right? I mean, listen, we're adults here. We need to understand that some people like to swing trade the market, okay? Some people trade the ranges. And when it gets to the top of the range, they sell. When it gets to the bottom range, they buy. It's this weird concept of buying low and selling high. Now, the interesting thing is you can see if we sort of go all the way back to just give a little bit more history here. You go back to November, and you can see, in fact, that they took 1,500 Bitcoin off the table at 67K. A modest 67K, right? But 67K nevertheless. And yes, they added some back pretty quickly at slightly lower prices, but, doesn't change the fact that 1,500 Bitcoin went out at 67.5K. Now, the interesting thing about that is that 69K was at least the local top. And we don't know how long it's going to be the top 4, but it was an important top that we have to pay attention to. And you can see that they more or less got it somewhat correct. Now, 1,500 Bitcoin is a lot of Bitcoin. Make no mistake about it. But for them, it's not very much, considering they own 125,000 Bitcoin. Okay? So we have to remember that, while 1,500 Bitcoin seems like a lot for us, it isn't necessarily a lot for some of these larger wallets. So what you'll notice, though, is that this whale continued to offload some at 40K, and then here in March at 44K. So you can see, okay, they offloaded some at if we go all the way back again, I accidentally scrolled up some. If you go all the way back, you can see they offloaded 1,500 here. They did start to add some back in the 50K range, and you can see that this one doesn't really count because they just added it right back. But one of the interesting things is that as you go up, you can see that they were sort of adding, they were adding, and then at some point they stopped for a little while. Okay, they were adding in the 40s, they were even adding in the 30s. Okay, they were adding in the 30s a lot. I mean, a few hundred Bitcoin here and there. And then we did a video on this on February 3rd at 37K. They stopped adding all of a sudden. It went silent for a little while. For a while, actually. I mean, you can see they added up until early February and then didn't do anything until March. And then in March, again, we don't know for sure if it's a buy or sell. It's just, but I keep using the terminology. In March, 1,500 Bitcoin went out at 44K. March 1st. So where was Bitcoin on March 1st? I don't remember, but my guess is it was a local top. Hey, look at that. It was, right? So you'll see, if you go look at this wallet, you go look at this address, you can see 1,500 Bitcoin came out at around 44K, just shy of 44K on March 1st. That was right there. So what they did, essentially, they took some out somewhere over here. Yeah, it wasn't right at the top. They did average in on the way down, and they bought through here. Okay, so they were buying throughout all of here, even up here. I mean, they were also averaging in some over here as well if you go look at the buys. But then they stopped right there. And they didn't do anything for the rest of the month of February. They didn't do anything. And then right there they took 1,500 Bitcoin out. So, it shows them sort of like trading the range of the market. And then what's interesting is after that, they started adding again once it dropped back down. They added at 38K, and then they added again at 38.5, and then they added again at 39. So they're adding again in early to mid-March. So after it dropped back down to these levels, right, they were adding again in early to mid-March. They started to add again. And then after that, they took another 1,500 Bitcoin out at around 41K. And then they kept taking it out. They didn't believe the trend. They just kept taking it out, right? So at 41K, they took 1,500 out. At 44K, they took 1,500 out. At 46K, they took 1,500 out. And then at 46.5K, they took 3,000 out. So they just kept taking it out. It didn't seem like they really believed the rally, right? So they took maybe a little bit out here, maybe a little bit out here, and then so on and so forth, because they didn't necessarily believe the rally. Now, going up to the 200-day SMA is somewhat typical. Even if the market is bearish, we can frequently visit the 200-day SMA, but we went all the way up to 48K. And then you can see that they started to add some back, especially as it started to drop again. Okay, so they added 2,900 back pretty quickly, but then as it went back down to the 43K levels, they started to add some back, and then the 40Ks, and then back in the upper 30s. So what this shows is that this whale number 3 was accumulating over here. They took some out over here. They did DCA down. They stopped here, took some profits here in early March, DCA'd again into the market in early to mid-March, took some out during this rally because they didn't necessarily believe it, and then ever since then, they've basically just been averaging in, is what's been going on. Okay, so what is this show? I mean, it's not a perfect thing, right? I mean, they sometimes sell and then it goes up another few $1,000s. They keep selling, right? But the same thing, sometimes they buy and it keeps going down and they keep buying. So it seems to me like they're trading the market range, right? They're trading the range. When it gets too high, they take some off the table. When it gets too low, they like to add back to it. And despite everything, they still own approximately $5.1 billion worth of Bitcoin. 5.1 billion. And if the on-chain data is to be trusted, they're currently sitting in profit on their Bitcoin at approximately $2.33 billion. All right. Now, that's one wallet, right? There's other wallets we can explore as well. One of them is the Luna, the Luna wallet you can see somewhere down here. and I believe this one's it. You can see they've been prolifically adding to their Bitcoin stack. They currently have here in this address, they have around $1.7 billion worth of Bitcoin. The most recent one, it looks like, according to this, was on April 14th, or about 5 days ago, where they added 123 Bitcoin. And before that, on April 12th, where they added a very modest 2,500 Bitcoin at approximately $39,871. So no outgoing transfers over here, though, as far as I can tell, right? Inbound only, and they just been slowly growing it. And you can see the red line is the balance in USD, the blue line is the balance in Bitcoin. It's basically just like the step function, right? Occasionally they add to it. They haven't taken anything out as far as I can tell, at least not in this address, right? Now, unfortunately, not every wallet has the same conviction, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say that all whales are accumulating when they're not. There's some that don't see the same conviction. Here's a wallet which seems somewhat convicted that they want to take DCA out of the market, and they've been doing so for quite a long period of time. Okay, now you can see this whale, I believe this is whale number 23, if I'm not mistaken. They were adding a lot of Bitcoin, back in August and September of 2021. You can see in the 50K to 40K range, they were adding a lot. And then they started taking some off the table here in the mid 40s, here in at 62K, and then at 64. No, this was not some at 64. Then at 61K and at 60K, they were taking 500 out here and there. And then you can see that ever since then, occasionally they take 500 Bitcoin off the table. So at 64.8, at 56.8, 56.7, 47.4, 49.2, 43, 42.5, 43.8, and 39.9. So they accumulated some of the Bitcoin. It looks like they picked up over here. They have at least offloaded some of it at a lower price, but you can also see that a significant amount was also offloaded at higher prices. But it looks like this whale had a lot of conviction back in August and September, where a lot was accumulated, but they haven't been part of the accumulation game as far as I can tell, at least not in this address. Not since September of 2021. I mean, you can see a few Bitcoin have come in, but of course nothing to get out of bed for. So that is an interesting perspective as well, to see that there are some whales that are sort of just systematically offloading some. Occasionally, I mean, this is, in November and December and January and March and April. Okay, they haven't been adding at all. And then here's another wallet. I don't remember which one this was, maybe down in the 60s or something. But they've actually been occasionally adding. Okay, so they actually just picked up another 192 Bitcoin almost just about a week ago. 242 Bitcoin almost also around a week ago, and so on and so forth. But you can see they added in over 9,000 Bitcoin back in mid-March at around the current prices. So it was around $41,000. We're currently trading at around 41.6K or so. Okay, so whale games are interesting. I also like to occasionally check in on some of these other wallets, because one of the interesting things is that there's a series of several wallets that first started to accumulate. And by the way, they probably belong to the same person, but I honestly have no idea. You can see a lot of them have the same amount of Bitcoin, or more or less the same, really close, same amounts. And their very first transaction was in late December. And this is where it gets interesting, okay? So pay attention. So December 4th of 2018. What was going on December 4th of 2018? I mean, if you were around back then, you should know if you're in crypto. But December 4th of 2018 is right... Let's see if I can find it right here. Okay? So December 4th of 2018. In the grand scheme of things, that's not bad, right? For your first transaction to come into all these wallets, to be right there, it's not bad. And perhaps maybe what they thought was going to happen at the time, and who can blame them? Maybe they thought this was going to come down, and then it was gonna push back up here, right? Because they sort of bought it, somewhere around this level, so perhaps they thought it was just going to come back up right there, and instead it actually put in a lower low. But at the end of the day, who cares, right? I mean, the Bitcoin was picked up at the time when the price, I mean, if we just go check it out, the price at the time, you can see when they got it, you're talking about less than $4,000. Now, it wasn't at the bottom, but close enough. But why do I find this interesting? Well, again, if you go and look at their more recent transaction history, they were adding in the summer, in July. I mean, gosh, like at the bottom here, the bottom in the summer, basically. I mean, 31K. I mean, we went to 29K. It missed it by a little bit, a few percent. Okay, 31K. And then at just below $4,000. But what's interesting is there's a lot of wallets, the same exact history, more or less. The first in on December 18th, a lot of them. December 4th of 2018. A lot of them. December 4th, 2018. December 4th, 2018. All these wallets first in December 4th, 2018. 9,661 Bitcoin in each wallet as of today, right? And then their last in was in July, right? In mid to late July. You can see the transactions, right? And they're there at 31K. I find it interesting mainly because, you have these larger players, they don't care about the short-term moves, right? So you have people like whale number 3 who's basically coming in, and swing trading the range. And then you have people like these other whales that are somewhat content just buying whatever the local bottom is for a while. And you could argue that maybe the bottom is where the bottom is because that's where a lot of big capital came in, like this person is showing. Maybe they helped create the bottom for all we know. I don't know. But it is interesting. And the reason why I keep watching these wallets is because, man, it'd be nice to see them buy again. Like if we're sitting here and Bitcoin's trading at some price in the future, and we're all feeling somewhat depressed about it, and we see these wallets adding again, well, that'll be interesting because it'll be like, well, they got $3,900 Bitcoin. The bottom was at 3,100. They picked it up at 31K when the bottom was at 29. So maybe they'll do a good job again in the future. So again, it's interesting to follow these things. Obviously, it's not going to tell you the full picture. And as I said before, the content of analyzing on-chain data is dubious at best. So it fits in perfectly with the content of this channel. If you guys want to pick up an Into the Cryptoverse t-shirt, head on over to store.intothecryptoverse.com. Not really sure why you'd want a t-shirt. In fact, the opportunity cost of owning one is somewhat high because you could just go buy Bitcoin and then maybe buy 10 t-shirts if Bitcoin goes up 10x. But if you don't have a t-shirt and you need one, head on over and get one. And we have a lot of different selections over there. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Check out Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. You'll get a whole lot of data, on-chain data, social metrics, which I think are underrated, ROI charts, logarithmic regression, weekly videos, etc. So go check it out, intothecryptoverse.com. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.